I just spent 10 hours speedrunning Super Mario 64, and I had a blast. So much so that I went back and 100% of the game, gained 120 stars. So I went ahead and made a tier list of how fun I think each course is. This is all what I think, so tell me what you think in the comments, and let's go! Oh god. Bomb Battlefield is a great opening stage for Mario 64. The course is wide with bright greens that feel very welcoming for the stage, with the visual of the mountain almost begging you to climb it. As an introduction, Bomb Battlefield is amazing at encouraging the player to get used to the controls, with stars that are for the most part easy to understand. And the music! I love the Bomb Battlefield music so much, and it really gives off the vibe of freedom and adventure to look forward to. Overall, Bomb Battlefield is an amazing introduction to Mario 64 that's perfect for getting used to the game and the controls, and that's why I'm giving it the A tier. If Bomb Battlefield was the introduction, Womps is when the player is truly let loose. Womps Fortress is much more precise and demanding on the player. That's not a bad thing at all though. There's still some hand holding, letting you fall off some areas without dying, but the difficulty is amped up just by the fact that you can fall off the map. Womps is able to feel like a playground with set challenges that are just challenging enough for a second stage. There's not a star on here that I don't find enjoyable, and the little extra challenge pushes it ahead of Bomb Battlefield to the top of A tier. Jolly Roger Bay is the first water level of the game, and personally, I don't find it very gratifying. I don't find any of the stars particularly fun to collect, as a lot of time is spent swimming to areas where the star is collected through a simple puzzle or the less enjoyable swimming movement. I do have to mention the music though. The water theme for this game is simply mesmerizing and makes the exploration feel especially emotional. I'm not gonna lie, I think the music combined with this big water cliff drop off to the giant eel is one of my strongest memories when I grew up playing Super Mario 64 on the DS. I swear the reason I have a fear of the ocean is because of the drop off and scary ass eel I saw as a kid. But nevertheless, I give Jolly Roger Bay the D tier for not bringing much to the table. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't know how popular of an opinion this is, but I love Cool Mountain. I think the music does a lot of heavy lifting for this course, as it's really joyful and carefree while giving off amazing winter vibes. The visuals and music match so well together, and the course never fails to put a smile on my face. Ever since I was a kid, the slide levels were a guilty pleasure of mine, and having a slide right off the bat was always so cool. One thing that this stage exemplifies is vertical design. Mario 64 actually has amazing vertical design for the most part. Often you start at the top or bottom of the course with a clear goal to either climb or descend. This is a design choice that I love in a lot of different games, from Dark Souls to Celeste to the obvious Jump King and Getting Over It type games. The music, the setting, the stars, everything from the straight vibes of Cool Mountain has me placing it in the S tier as probably my favorite course in the game. You didn't think I'd forget about the Bowser stages, did you? Although much smaller and only containing a single star, I felt the Bowser stages were significant enough to be included on this list. And let me tell you, I'm a big fan. Bowser in the Dark World is the embodiment of an obstacle course. This course feels like Womps if there was absolutely no hand-holding. The stage is one big winding path with little chance of survival if you fall off at any point. There's no more training wheels anymore. This is Mario 64. Honestly, despite how short it is, I think that Bowser in the Dark World is an amazing course and deserves the A tier. Our next course is the spooky haunted house that is Big Boo's Haunt. While I think the atmosphere of the course is great, entering the birdcage and being taunted by the ghost, I think the stage is a bit bland. There's not a lot of platforming that makes the stage fun to explore. The stars are very cryptic and confusing, which I think adds a lot for the scavenger hunt of a haunted house, but at that point, I'd rather just play Luigi's Mansion. I think Big Boo's Haunt is a course that overall ignores the best part of Mario 64, which is the movement, which has me placing it in the D tier. Moving on to the claustrophobic dungeon, we have Hazy Maze Cave. This labyrinthian course unfortunately feels a bit bad due to the camera and tight corridors. You might be able to tell from how I rank the stages, but I value movement a ton. When you're playing this game with the freedom to perform these wonderful acrobatic jumps, nothing feels better, and courses that intentionally limit these options are, in my opinion, weaker. Although it's pretty fun in a speedrun, Hazy Maze Cave is a bit too constrictive, and I have to place it in the D tier. And speaking of freedom of movement, we head to Lethal Lava Land, which is a pretty fun stage. This course, for the most part, ignores vertical design, instead opting for a single flat area to explore with a side trip into the volcano, leading to more of that upwards momentum. The course can be pretty fun to explore and even has lava boosting to take shortcuts in exchange for health. If you can get the shell, it can be super cool to zip around the stage, flying over lava, but unfortunately you don't get that until the 5th star, and I had to Google where it was because I can never find it. I think the stars here are a bit weak and hold the stage back, but overall it's a solid B tier. Shifting Sandland is another weak course in my opinion. I already brought up how I dislike restricting Mario's movement, and although this map is open, the sand on this stage can purposely slow you down to a crawl. The shell can remedy this a bit, but you can't exactly gather many stars using the shell, as you'll most likely have to dismount to have any chance of getting them. I think that inside the pyramid is a little bit better, but I don't find any of the stars inside or outside particularly interesting, and has me putting it in the D tier. Although, shout out to the boss, he's pretty cool all things considered. I mentioned that I don't particularly enjoy swimming in the game, but I think Dire Docks does a much better job than Jolly Roger Bay at a water level. The stars are a lot more interesting, and the course just feels quicker and faster paced than Jolly Roger. It's hard to describe, but it has a more linear feel to it that I appreciate more in a water level. And I know I already brought it up, but the music's amazing. I don't know who let Koji Kondo cook with gasoline, but my god, I love this song. Overall, the course is an enjoyable water level that gets a solid B tier. Oh, I love this course. This is my favorite Bowser course by far. There's such a strong energy with this stage. One thing I love about the Bowser courses is that you get to look forward and see exactly where you need to go, as these are some of the most linear courses in the game that just demand you to take them on. I love the 3-layer design that Fire Sea has, as you can definitely still fall to the lower levels, but you really take them on one at a time with a clear path forward. Bowser in the Fire Sea is just so fast-paced and rewarding and fun to blitz through that I have to give it the S tier. On to the final stretch, we have the upper floors of the game, starting off with Snowman's Land. Snowman's Land is pretty good. It's a smaller course with a central snowman towering over the stage. I wouldn't say any of the stars are particularly amazing, but they are all pretty fun. Honestly, I might just be biased to snow stages, but I like Snowman's Land a good bit. I don't have much else to say. I mean, the course is solid, but it doesn't stand out too much. B tier. Wet Dry World is a pretty underwhelming stage. The water on this course feels more of a hassle than anything else with all the raising and lowering. I don't particularly find the course fun to traverse, and most of the stars feel rather boring as well. I do think the town underneath the main part of the course is a really cool aesthetic that I wish had more done with it, because the mystery of finding a whole town is really neat. However, I find the whole of the course pretty lackluster and underwhelming, which has been putting it in the C tier. Tall Mountain is pretty solid all things considered. The climb to the top feels very getting over it-esque with a constant climb, always having the threat of falling, but it doesn't feel like you will fall because the course is still pretty safe. The stars are pretty self-explanatory, except for the one hidden slide star, and although I think it could have been easier to find, you know I have a thing for slide stars, and this slide is the prettiest one. An overall solid course with good verticality and good stars, which places it in the B tier. Oh boy, now we get to talk about my least favorite stage in the game, Tiny Huge Island. Tiny Huge Island is an incredible concept. I'm sure you could tell from the name, but you can switch between a tiny island and a huge island. Amazing concept, really creative. Too bad it sucks ass. The tiny island is okay, but it feels like you walk off by accident all the time because of how small the ground is and the janky slopes sliding you off. The huge island, on the other hand, is way too big. It takes forever to get anywhere, and if you fall in the water at any point, you'll be swimming for a while because of how big the water areas are. I think the stars on this course are actually pretty good, which sucks because of how bad it feels to move around. I think if you can get good at the course, it could be less annoying, but I wasn't good enough here, which caused me to spend so much time dying trying just to do something like the 100 coin star. The amazing idea, but in my opinion, pretty bad execution, leads me to giving Tiny Huge Island the F tier. Well, sorry to bring down the vibes with Tiny Huge Island, but now we head to Tik Tok Clock, which is one of my favorites. I brought up vertical design a lot in this video, and I think Tik Tok Clock is another amazing example of this. The concept is really awesome, with you exploring the inside of a clock with the ability to speed the course up, slow it down, or even stop movement altogether. The clock's interior is filled with platforming challenges that really test everything you've learned, as it's one of the final courses in the game. Every star here is a challenge of how well you can move Mario to reach the star, rather than relying on many gimmicks or puzzles. Just a purely mechanical course that rewards your mastery of it. I mean, I love Tik Tok Clock, so I have to give it the S tier. And for the final course, we have Rainbow Ride. I think Rainbow Ride is a very fun looking course that is unfortunately really slow. There are magical carpets that carry you around to the stars in this course, and these can be avoided if you're a good speedrunner. But for a casual like me, I had to ride the carpets a lot, which I really didn't like. I don't really enjoy auto-scrolling levels like Rainbow Ride, which sucks because I really do think the course is pretty and some of the stars are really fun. That is, when you get to the areas to do them after riding the carpets. It's not bad, and if there was a better way to move around than the carpets, I'd probably give it an A tier, but for now, I have to give it the C tier. And for our final real course, we have Bowser 3. Bowser in the sky. If it wasn't already obvious, I love the Bowser courses, and the same goes for this final one, Bowser 3. The colors and atmosphere feel very climactic and threatening, which fits so perfectly for the lead up to Bowser. The platforming is not only challenging, but rewarding to complete. I think the course can be slowed down a bit by the moving platform and pole, but overall, I think this is an incredible finish to Super Mario 64 and has me giving it the A tier. And that's it. I hope I don't get torn up too much in the comments, but overall, it's just the opinions of a casual player collecting 120 stars. Thanks for watching. I have to go save the Mushroom Kingdom or something, or whatever. So just like, subscribe, comment, whatever, and I'll see you next time. Wahoo! Yahoo! Yahoo!